why we listen to podcasts, traffic, air travel. It's good enough, right? Okay, let's try it again. Yeah, it works. So yeah, I'm going to tell you a story, a lot of technical details on what you should and what you shouldn't do. About DevRelRad, but also a couple of other podcasts that I participate. Before we start, I prepared a page, which is actually the idea of show notes comes from a podcast, JFrog.com/show notes. The slides are already there. I wanted to take a video on my phone and publish it like tonight, but I crashed my phone, so we will wait for the organizers to publish the video, so no video for you. All the links, that's the important part. I speak about tools and platforms and everything. All the links are there. Comments, this is where you say that I rule, right? And ratings, 5 is the best, not 1. But a little raffle to thank you for being here. Amazon Echo Dot for the people who love those stuff. You know what? Let's start with a poll. Let's see how it works. And that will be a reason why we do podcasts. So who loves to speak? Who loves to write? Yeah. I mean, it didn't work. I tried. Well, yeah, I usually, me personally and my colleagues prefer to speak than to write. And this is why we do podcasts and not blogs, generally. So if you are like us, I'll tell you a story about 3 different podcasts. They are quite different. I participate in all 3 of them, so I can compare and share with you the differences. The first one is any Russian speakers in the audience? Okay, so it's only me and you. Okay. Max was here, but he left. All day. Okay. I tried to find you all day because you are the only people who will connect to this one. Razbor Polotov is a podcast about IT in Russian. 160 episodes, 2+ hours each. That's a lot of hours. Since 2011, a veteran, I would say. Million+ downloads, about 10,000 downloads per episode. Think software engineering daily, but in Russian, and 2 hours long and every 2 weeks. But everything else is the same, not so much. But the idea is we talk about stuff that we care about. 6 permanent residents, that's why it survives so long, because we kind of, when we seek out of it, we take a break. Known for excellent audio quality, no sarcasm. I'm going to speak about the importance of this thing. The second one is very, very different, and that's a Groovy podcast. Anyone heard about Groovy podcast? Those are my 2 listeners there right here. What a coincidence. That's great. Well, 66 episodes since 2014. Last one is number 57. Deal with it. I have no idea how that happened. 60,000 downloads, which means, well, moderate success. I'll call it that way. It's a podcast about Groovy, obviously, as a programming language. If you have anything to do with it, check it out. It's basically me and Ken Cousin, who is amazing and does all the work. I just come for the laugh. So, yeah, I'm going to speak about that. The thing of Groovy podcast is that it's extremely low-key production. It takes literally nothing for us to get online, record the podcast, and put it out there. And I'm going to speak about that as well, of course. And the third one, the meta of them all, is the DevRelRad. So the DevRelRad is, well, first season is lost in time and space continuum. There are a couple of episodes scattered all over the internet if you want to search for them. I didn't find any, but they're there. We rebooted it this year in January and have 5 episodes out. Anyone heard about DevRelRad? Yeah, a couple of people, and that's because we have astonishing number of downloads. You see the popularity here. But today, everything changes, thanks to you. And yeah, it's a podcast about DevRel, and we did triple meta episode last week. We recorded an episode of DevRel Radio, preparing me for this talk at the DevRel conference about DevRel Radio. Triple meta, awesome stuff. It's basically three people that I'm going to introduce in a second, and it's known for very, very chatty and annoying hosts and guests, because we love to speak, as I mentioned. So Victor Gamov, he is my co-presenter at DevRel Radio, Ed Gamuso on Twitter, solution architect and undercover developer advocate. He tries to get this position. They won't let him out of solution architecture. He's from Confluent, and interesting fact, he's co-author of the Russian podcast as well. The amazing Timberland, Timberland on Twitter, senior director of developer experience, and he really should be here, but for some reason he couldn't came. Also at Confluent, and DevRel Radio was his idea. The name was his idea as well, and he's an amazing guy. Myself, I'm a chief sticker officer at JFrog. We spoke about the importance of stickers, right? So that's yeah, but also head of developer relations at Baruch everywhere. And this is my business card, and this part right here is actually peelable stickers. Okay, so I have one thought leadership and kind of inspiring slide. You can see by design. It's like important. And that will be the only thought leadership and inspiring slide. The three most important things about podcasting when you think to run once are message. You need to come with the idea what your podcast is about. Raspberry Pi is about ranting about IT shit last week that we care about. Groovy podcast is a Groovy. DevRel Radio, DevRel. Consistency, that's kind of important. DevRel Radio didn't do very good job about it. We are trying to get better. If you have episode once in a year, probably no one will listen to you. And quality. We're going to talk about quality as well. What do you need? You need plan, or you don't need to plan. You need some kind of equipment. You need post-processing. And you need website or show notes. And you need promotion, measurement, and feedback processing. We're going to talk about all those in the following 7 minutes. Okay, so let's start with planning. What I'm going to show to you is a scale from very low effort to significantly well done. And I'm going to express my opinion on where you should stop in this quest for the top, because done is better than perfect. So low planning is, let's not plan. We have half an hour, we have an hour, we call each other or text each other, let's get online and record the podcast, boom, the podcast is ready. It's sometimes nice if you just want to rant about stuff and you're creative enough to come up with enough content. Usually you want some planning of the content. So this is Raspberry Pi. We never plan anything, we just set up a date and then rant about stuff for 2 hours. Tentative list of topics is nice to have, and that will be the DevRel Radio and the Groovy podcast. We come up with a list of new stuff or stuff that we want to talk about, and that's good enough. You will also reuse this list later for the show notes. We're going to talk about that. And the third one, I don't know what's going on with the fonts. Anyway, what's written here is basically this. So this is another podcast that I was invited as a guest, latest Shiny, and take a look at that. They measured by the seconds, from 2 minutes 17 seconds to 3 minutes 26 seconds. We're going to talk about JFrog Artifactory. That's absolutely insane. I don't remember if we met those seconds when we actually spoke, but that was really impressive. That's before, right? It's planning. It's not actual timings. So somewhere in the middle, I'm going to say that a lot, someone in the middle sounds like a reasonable solution. Equipment. You remember how quality is important? This is what brings you there. The low key is whatever built-in crap you have. It will be your mic in your computer or your phone, which will probably require most post-processing, and I'm going to talk about that later. You can buy kind of mid-level microphones, stuff like Yeti or Rode Podcaster. They are very, very good in providing quality so high that you almost don't need post-processing. And that's important. If you feel professional and have too much money, you have the third level of Hell and Shure and soundproof room in your house or basement or whatever. Anyway, sometimes you want to record episode on the road. This is very nice because you can meet people in person, both your co-host and your guests, and then you sit together and you record with them. You can do it from your smartphone. Again, probably not the best idea for quality. For a couple of $100, you can get a very decent equipment like Zoom H4, this level of recording equipment. They record a group of people in a decent quality, so that's a very good idea. And again, mid-level of investment. And of course, if you have too much money, there are tools like Zoom Field 8 or Zoom Field 6. But for that, you will have to buy a set of wireless microphones. We're talking about thousands. So if you feel like that. For talking about software, when you actually record this stuff, so again, entry level, you can use Skype, you can use Hangouts. I personally hate both. Skype for those, this is guidelines of Skype broadcasting. The bottom line here is very interesting. Every 15 minutes, you need to announce to your listeners that you actually do this thing on Skype. You didn't know. Now you know. Enjoy Skype. And Hangouts is just been horrible over the years. Constantly spins up all the fans of my laptop. I feel like in a helicopter. There is a very good solution, which is free to cheap, and it's called Zoom.us. Zoom.us or Blue Jeans, or there are a couple of other decent conferencing tools. They allow you to record, of course, and that's exactly what you need. You can turn on video, you can turn off video, but you will grab the audio, and that's a really, really good idea. I'm a big fan of Zoom.us, highly recommend it. So that's for recording. You have the file, you upload it to the platform we're going to talk about in a minute. Sometimes you want to stream because you, for some reason, think that people want to watch you live speaking about stuff. Usually it's not, but you might think. And then you can use stuff like Hangouts on Air. It has all the downsides of Hangouts. Or you can use, again, Zoom.us with a webinars plugin, which allow you to stream to Facebook or to YouTube, or other stuff like BeLive.tv. There are decent platforms for doing that. And we come to post-processing. So post-processing, again, low-key, don't do anything, just release. You recorded whatever horrible sound coming out of your microphone on your computer, and you just release it. People will hate it regardless of what you have to say. Podcasts with the bad quality won't take up, period. So either you invest in decent microphones, or you do some kind of post-processing. And mid-level post-processing, which is very, very, very easy to do and won't require much time, is just using open source tool that's called Audacity. It has automatic post-processing with automatic levels and noise cancellation. Very nice stuff. So if you have mid-level microphones and you invest a little bit in post-processing, you get a really, really decent quality that you can roll on. If you want to get crazy, there are stuff like 2-pass normalization with noise gate based on FTT. I have no idea what I just read. Victor does that. He's really quality freak, but that's, I don't know. Show notes. It's very important to give people the ability to go to the website and see the stuff that you are talking about, because you are going to mention tools like I just did, and especially when there is no text on the slides, like it happened for some weird reason, you need a place that people will go and see. So that's the show note page. You can do with wherever you publish your podcast. Usually you can create like a README for this podcast episode, and you can put the links there, and this is fine. Well, not so much. Next step will be dedicated page, GitHub pages, or whatever you use for your own website will be just fine. There are static websites generators. This is something that we use. And the really next step that I personally very recommend if you do this podcast for purposes others than just fun is dedicated website with trackable and measurable conversions. And this brings me to KPIs, which you might care or might not care about. So first of all, the KPI that you definitely care is the download numbers. We are there for the glory and for the vain. So we want to see our podcast popular. You need to measure download numbers. Every podcasting platform will give you that. So this is comes out of the box. But of course, if you do it as a part of your job as developer relations specialists, you want to measure conversions. I'm not talking about buying a product of my company, but any engagement that you care about can be measured from this show notes page. So you know how many people visited the show notes page, clicked on different links, and then proceed further for different actions. It's very easy to do, and this is how you convert your air audience, which you have zero engagement with, to actually something measurable that you can follow up on. Last but not least, the hosting platforms. There are tons. There are 3 which are the leaders. I kind of selected the middle ground in their offering. So there is Podbean with a plan called Unlimited Audio. It's very cheap. It's $9 a month and provides you with unlimited storage and advanced stats. The peer of this plan on SoundCloud will be Pro Unlimited. Again, unlimited advanced stuff, $15. I don't know why it's almost once expensive, but it's not so bad because there is Libsyn, which limits your storage to 400 megabytes a month and charges actually much more for that. So for me, Podbean is a winner. We do our Groovy podcast there. It's really good. And that will be all. So just to remind you, show notes, that's the same show notes, but not from the podcast, but from the conference talk. The idea is exactly the same. I will measure you like hell. DevXcon is when you praise this talk on Twitter just now. I'm at JBaruch. DevRelRad, this is where you go to actually start pumping up those numbers that I spoke about. And obviously, we are hiring. If you want to work for a chief sticker officer, please do. Thank you very much.